My name is Jesse, and I spent 19 years in prison, but I don't always want to talk about prison because I think I'm a lot more than just the time that I did or the work I do now with prison reentry. So instead, I want to talk about some of the things that I like, and somebody actually sent me a list, which I'm really grateful for because they said, hey, we want to hear about your daily life. What is my favorite season? Well, it would be either spring or fall because, the summer is great, the winter is great, but I like the changing of the season. I like seeing it. I like the leaves turning. I like watching things bloom and grow because I'm really connected to symbols of things. Being able to watch that, I kind of look at that in myself. Like in the fall, I'm like, okay, what do I need to allow to die? Or what do I need to allow to pass so that I can move on to this new thing? What do I need to let go of? And in the spring, it's like, hey, what new thing can I nurture? What new thing can I build? What new project can I have? Whereas in the summer, it just feels like kind of like manic and busy and crazy. And in the winter, it's just all hibernation. And of course, we don't actually get to do that because we're not in the olden days. But I think spring or fall are really beautiful to me because every day I feel connected to some sort of change, both externally and internally. My favorite color, I didn't really care about color. I always thought this was such a silly question before I went to prison because I was like, yeah, I don't know, like blue, purple. But after all those years of white walls and metal and drab colors and the same clothes, I really do love color. I love art. I love going to see architecture. I love anything that's just visual and pleasing. At the same time, I still like that dark blue purple. There's something about it that just feels like, I don't know, my aura, my soul, I don't know. I don't really believe in any of that, but there's something that I connect to in that. It's quiet, it's full, it's something that I really like. So I don't obviously have a lot of color around me, but I do think it's important to have something that we connect to. So whether that's going for a walk in the woods that are colorful and I hear the birds chirping, or that's going to an art museum, I try to connect to those things that allow me to remember that the world is bright and the world is full and the world is, a lot more than just what we see right around us. What meal or food combo reminds me of home? So growing up, I didn't really have a lot of food that felt like home or that connected to home. My parents divorced when I was 7, and I remember we would eat Mexican food and Chinese food, and Chinese food was ramen noodles, which is not it's not Chinese, first of all, and Mexican food was like tortillas with state cheese on it, which is not Mexican food. I just remember that. And then, when both my parents got either remarried or repartnered, and I remember it was my stepmom's grandmother, this little old woman who in her 80s would spend 5 hours, going over a 5-course meal just for a Sunday dinner, who was amazing and sweet. And it was the best Southern food in the world. So every now and then, if I go sit down and I eat some of that Southern comfort food, it just it feels like home. It reminds me of that time together. And some of the other time I had was with step family on the other side, my stepdad's family, and we had good food, but I don't remember any particular food really standing out. So I think it's that Southern food that to me makes me feel like home and safe and surrounded by people. What is my favorite TV series? I used to really like The Walking Dead when I was in prison. I don't watch nearly as much TV, once I got out. I don't think I watched any TV at all for 6 months when I got out. Walking Dead was really good, and then I just stopped watching even inside. I really liked Better Call Saul. I really liked Breaking Bad. I thought they were brilliant. The only thing I've been watching now is
You won't remember a thing about it.
What Happens in the Shadows, or What They Do in the Shadows, the vampire show that's
I say, little vampire.
Satire. It's almost done like The Office. And it's just so dumb and so funny, and so it's just exactly what I need. When I try to watch action stuff, I just can't do it. And I watched, oh my God, The Glass House. I watched that with somebody, and I'm streaming tears through the whole movie. It's just way too close to home. That's not good. I like to cry and everything, but I'll cry in therapy. I don't need to cry watching TV. So I just want something funny. I would watch stand-up on occasion, or I would watch UFC, but I really don't have time. So it's that's something I can just kind of fit in with that. What kind of bikes do I like? Okay, so I do like motorcycles. If I had an accident back in August. Was, fairly injured, had a broken pelvis and a dislocated sternum.
What happened?
I don't know. That's part of the problem. I just know that I hurt really bad. So, yeah.
See, guys, motorcycles are stupid.
Yes, they are. But I still have the motorcycle we managed to fix up. I have a Honda CBR 1000, which is a big leader bike, sport bike, which is probably not a good idea. And I keep telling myself that I'm going to sell it. But then every time I ride it, I'm like, I'll sell it next week because it just feels so good. But having 170 horsepower in something that weighs 400 pounds is just not a good idea because you can go way too fast. You obviously aren't safe if you hit anything or if you wreck. But also it's a good way to get in trouble. I had a buddy who ran from the cops and got in trouble doing that. And I just don't even want to have that temptation or that experience in my life. So I think that one of the things is I probably need to get rid of that bike at some point. So I want to know if I like old muscle cars. When I was younger, I really liked Mustangs, like old Mustangs, 64 and a half, 65. I had my first car was an 86 Mustang. Which was just not a good car. I used to really like them, but now I much more like something that's quiet and understated. I think back then I liked the idea of noise and power, and now I'm no, I just want something comfortable and quiet. And I don't know that I'll ever go back to that. I appreciate them as art. I appreciate the form and the function of them, because I'm much more of a function person than form. Classically, I would have a car that was fast but had like rust on it. I didn't care. I didn't care what it looked like. I wanted to like be fast. I wanted to handle well. But now I'm to the point where like I want something that feels comfortable, that feels good, that feels like I can drive it, or it can drive itself, which is obviously the preferable option. What chore do I hate and what chore do I like? I actually like most chores. Like I decided I need to save money because I've been blowing money and I need to be responsible. So I've been prep cooking. I've been doing breakfast and lunch every week, and then actually doing some of the lunch things for dinner. And I really enjoy prep cooking. I really enjoy like going there, and I like that. And I had forgotten that I like that. When Courtney and I were together, I would cook dinner pretty much every night because I would end up working from home or going back home before she got back from the radio, and I would have dinner ready when she came home. And I like that. I like cooking, but I don't do it for myself. Like I would do it for somebody else, or if I have friends over, if I have a date, I'll always make food, but I don't do it for myself. And I got to remember, like, I'm as deserving of this as anybody else. So I think I like to cook. The chore that I hate, I don't know if there's any that I really hate, but a lot of times, like, cleaning the bathroom and doing other things, I kind of have to like motivate myself to do that. Just as I saw working on the horse farm, I don't know, sometimes it's good to do anything. I mean, I was like working, building stalls and like going till 9:30 or 10 at night. And I really like that because I was in my body, and it feels like so much of the work that I do is in front of a screen or in my head or talking to people. It was nice to just be like, hey, I want to build something or tear something down or like carry a goat, or it was just a good experience. Do I like flying versus road trips? As you might know, I spend a lot of time on the road. I do a lot of flying. I actually have three road trips this month, or in the next month. I'm going to Durham, North Carolina, then I'm going to Pennsylvania, then I'm going back to Charlotte, North Carolina. I think I prefer to fly just because I feel like I can disconnect. I like the idea of a road trip, but I'm almost always going by myself, and it's just not fun to drive by myself. We can't take turns. We're not talking. I'm just basically like listening to an audiobook or just kind of zoning out or just trying to get there. Whereas on a plane, I can read, or I can listen to a book, or I can work. It just feels like that. And it also feels like I don't have to pay attention. Like I don't have to be driving. And I think at some point I just feel like it's nice to do that, but it's probably good. I would like to take a road trip at some point. Maybe even do like, I've thought about like buying a van and building up a little, tiny home in the van and taking off across the country once I'm off probation, but I haven't gotten there yet, and I'm not sure I would actually like it because I do kind of like routine and I do like people, but maybe I'd find good people wherever I went. Have you ever been on a float trip? Does this mean like floating on acid, or like, I'm assuming you mean like on a tube. So I have gone tubing here in the area I'm at. You can like put in at one spot and get out at the other, and the tubing is great. It's a really good experience. I really enjoy it. If they're talking about like the float tanks, I've never done one of those. I think those would be neat. They're like sensory deprivation chambers. And actually, there was somebody that I was dating who actually got me an appointment, but I didn't realize I couldn't have a tattoo, so I got a tattoo and I had to cancel the appointment. But it was an incredibly sweet gesture, and I was really grateful for that. And I probably should go back and do that, but I think she just got a refund. If I could be an animal, what would I choose and why? Well, I'll tell you that as a kid, I was like in love with wolves and dolphins as my power animal. I don't know why, but they felt like connected. I think wolves because they were like a pack animal. They were always together. They always had each other's backs, or at least that's the way I imagine them. But at the same time, they had this kind of solitary image because I think I always felt alone and was like looking for that pack. I was looking for that community and looking for a group that I could support and could support me. Dolphins are also pod or pack animals, but they're just playful and they're good. And I think that's what I always felt like I was missing as a kid. Like I didn't feel like I was playful enough, or I didn't feel like I was like free enough. And I wanted to do that, just be able to like leave all this stuff behind and just go through the water and have fun. A little bit of that is what I did at the farm last week, where I felt like, I'm not worried. I'm not on my phone. I'm just out here working, or I'm out here in this field. And that felt really good because it had been a long time since I'd done that. Do I like watching UFC? And if so, who are some of my favorite fighters? I do really enjoy mixed martial arts. I do love martial arts, both doing them and watching them. I don't watch nearly as much out here as I did in there because I just don't have time. Like there was a big fight night this last weekend and I just didn't watch it. I mean, I was just getting back from the 2 trips and I was just exhausted, and I think I was probably in bed by like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. That doesn't necessarily make sense. So a lot of the fighters I like are the kind of like more middle fighters, not like the original, like the Hoist Gracies, but like Cowboy I thought was amazing. I really loved his like kickboxing, his precision, and his style. Robbie Lawler, another kind of brawler who didn't even try a submission for 12 years, I loved what he did because he would just like let somebody take him down, he would get up and then he would box him. He would kick, but he would basically like, he had one thing that he did, and he had that Holyfield like looping boxing style that I just really loved and appreciated. On the other hand, Charles Oliveira used to just choke people out. Like for a while he was known as a jiu-jitsu guy, and it was cool because he was explosive and he would jump and he would do whatever, and then he just started knocking people out, and I thought that was great. There's a whole host of the guys that were kind of from that era, and they're good people now. They're amazing people now. I don't as much get into it. Like I don't necessarily want the spectacle of Conor McGregor. Like I think he's incredibly talented. He's done an incredible job of like building this thing up, and I think Khabib was one of the best fighters ever, but he's not, there's no excitement, there's no whatever. He just goes in, he smashes, and he's done, and I respect that. I think his discipline is just otherworldly, but at the same time, that's not what I want to see. I kind of want to see the character of the person that I connect with, not the spectacle, but like the human part of it. That's a little bit of who I am. By the way, I turned 40 on November 19th, and we're doing a cruise out of Miami, Florida. So if you're interested, there's this group called readygotravel, and you can call them. I'll put the number up on the screen. And yeah, I'm really excited because I would love for people to come join us. We're both doing it for my birthday, and we're doing it as a fundraiser for Secondchancer Foundation, because we're working to bridge the gap between incarceration and opportunity, and we facilitate mentor relationships. We've built this platform to get professional mentors on the outside in contact with people in prison so those relationships can develop and people can get to know each other, but we need to basically fundraise to be able to operate this. We need to expand, we need to create partnerships. So I would love to meet with people. I would love some of the benefit, because Carnival is going to give a certain amount of money for every cabin that's booked back to the nonprofit. We may do an auction while we're there. We're just looking at ways we can, kind of bring people together and have a social event, because I'd love to meet the people who are interested in my story and relate and that I talk to so much. We go back and forth in the comments, and I'd also love to figure out a way to continue to fund the work that we're doing, because I think it's really important. Thank you for seeing that I'm more than just the guy who spent 19 years in prison, and I hope you have a wonderful day.